evening news show after an amazing 5.5 years. I was shocked when she told me it was melanoma because all I knew about it at the time was how deadly it was. As summer approaches, Norah O'Donnell, co-host of CBS This Morning, talks about her melanoma diagnosis. She learned she had melanoma in situ during a routine checkup before Thanksgiving. The 43-year-old was shocked and scared. She remembers getting the news while she was shopping for the holidays. Tears ran down my face, she writes. I couldn't understand how this happened, even though she was taking care of herself. She now speaks out to raise awareness about skin cancer and how important it is to find it early. Read more about her journey and how she's dealing with this life-changing diagnosis. I had these yearly skin checks, and I had gone 2 years ago to my dermatologist, Dr. Elizabeth Hale at the time. I checked some things and everything was fine, she tells People exclusively 2 years later. During her appointment, O.D. Donnell's doctor found 2 spots on her back that she wanted to look at more closely. She said she'd send them for a biopsy and get back to me after Thanksgiving. My family and I were in Washington, D.C. for the holiday when I got an urgent email from Dr. Darrelay saying that the biopsy came back and that she wanted to talk to me right away. That's when the reporter found out she had melanoma on her back. Oh my God, O'Donnell says, but the doctor says it's 100% curable. The good news is that they caught it early, but as soon as you can, I want to see you because we need to take it out with a pretty big cut that will be deep and stitched. The really good news is that they caught it early and treat it very aggressively. They make a big cut to make sure there's nothing else around it and it doesn't get too big. I went back in January and had the incision done. It was a pretty big cut with 3 layers of stitches and about 20 in total. The good news is that the margins were clear. It's scary. It's the first time in your medical career that something scares you. Being told she had skin cancer was hard on the newscaster's mind and emotions. It was a wake-up call for me. My husband was worried. My kids were worried. My 99-year-old son asked me, "Is there any chance you can die from this surgery?" I told him, no. One of the hardest things was not being able to work out for 6 weeks. I was upset, and it made me realize how important exercise is for mental health. I was really down after being diagnosed, and not being able to exercise had a big effect on my mood. After she was diagnosed, O'Donnell started researching this type of melanoma. She found that a lot of it is caused by UVA rays and tanning salons. She says, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I ran track, was a cheerleader, and went to a tanning salon. That was before spray tans. Now I wear 50 or 70 and use spray tans or self-tanner, but that wasn't around when I was 20. Following her diagnosis, O'Donnell says that everyone should be more serious about preventative care. I think getting skin checks isn't at the top of everyone's list, she says, adding that melanoma is on the rise and that preventative care is so important for catching this stuff early. I have to go back every 4 months. I just went back for my next one. They took off 2 more things, including a spot under the scar. Both came back completely benign, but I'm still being closely watched. Norah O'Donnell has talked about her shocking skin cancer diagnosis, saying that she got the news during a regular checkup with her dermatologist. The CBS This Morning host found out in November that she had a cancerous melanoma on her upper left back after her doctor found 2 unusual moles and sent them for biopsy. She said she was at a high risk. I was so upset that I cried and talked about it with my family, who are all doctors. One of them told Inside Edition that the fact that I have fair skin, spend a lot of time in the sun, and use tanning beds all played a part. According to the American Cancer Society, melanoma is the deadliest form of skin cancer, even though it only makes up 1% of all skin cancers. 2 months later, doctors took out the moles. She is now cancer-free and writing about her experience for the June issue of Good Housekeeping. Don't be afraid to go to your dermatologist, she told Inside Edition. It's so much better that we caught this early. But what is melanoma? Melanoma, which means black tumor, is the most dangerous type of skin cancer because it grows quickly and can spread to any organ. It starts in skin cells called melanocytes, which make melanin, which gives skin its dark color. Melanomas are colored growths on the skin. Most are black or brown, but some are pink, red, purple, or skin-colored. About 30% of melanomas start in moles, while the rest start in normal skin. Because most melanomas don't start as moles, it's important to know if you're in a high-risk group for getting melanoma. Because melanomas grow so quickly, waiting to get treatment can sometimes mean the difference between life and death. Knowing your risk can help you be extra careful to notice changes in your skin and get a skin exam. Melanoma has a 99% cure rate if found in its early stages, so early detection is important because treatment success is directly related to how deep the cancer has grown. Melanoma only makes up about 1% of all skin cancers, but it causes most of them. There are a lot of deaths related to skin cancer, and it's most common in young people under 30, especially young women. The number of melanoma cases has dramatically increased over the past 30 years, and more people agree that higher levels of ultraviolet exposure are a big reason for this. You can get melanoma anywhere on your body. It can even form in your eyes and internal organs. Men are more likely to get it on their trunks and upper backs, while women are more likely to. Most experts agree that too much sun exposure, especially sunburns when you are young, is a major risk factor for melanoma. In fact, 86% of melanomas are caused by solar ultraviolet rays. How does the sun cause skin cancer? UV rays can damage a cell's DNA, changing genes that control how cells grow and divide. Problems can arise when your skin's DNA is damaged and cells start to reproduce. The use of tanning beds also raises the risk of melanoma and has been named a cancer-causing substance by the World Health Organization. Each year in the U.S., over 6,000 cases of melanoma may be linked to tanning bed use. If you have a mole or other spot that looks suspicious, your doctor may remove it and look at it under a microscope to see if it contains cancer cells. This is called a biopsy. If the results of the biopsy show evidence of melanoma cells, the next step is to find out if the cancer has spread. This is called staging. Once melanoma is diagnosed, it is put into groups based on things like how deeply it has spread and how it looks under a microscope. The most important thing for predicting outcomes is the thickness of the tumor, which is exactly what happened to Norah O'Donnell one ordinary morning. O'Donnell talks about melanoma in an interview with Healthline. CBS News correspondent Norah O'Donnell talks about her experience with melanoma and how important it is to take preventative medicine. O'Donnell is the anchor and, as managing editor of CBS Evening News, O'Donnell was in charge of providing essential medical and political coverage during the COVID-19 pandemic and the 2020 election cycle. It's been more than 4 years since she got a call from her dermatologist while looking at sheets and towels in a department store. Her doctor told her she had melanoma and would need surgery to remove it as soon as possible. O'Donnell felt fearful right away. Since the surgery, she has been diligent about getting checked for skin cancer every 4 to 6 months. She thinks that some people may not be following through with their preventative doctor's visits because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Even though some people are afraid to go to the doctor for a checkup because of the physical distance rules related to the pandemic, it may be safer than many think. One of my doctors actually said that a hospital is one of the safest places to be because everyone is wearing a mask and gloves, O'Donnell remembered. She hopes that hearing her story will help others. In these tough times, O'Donnell wants to encourage others to take charge of their health. She said that even though her doctor found the melanoma very early and the surgery was pretty minor compared to other skin cancer surgeries, she now has a better understanding of how uncertain cancer can be. She sees the scar on her back as a reminder that regular checkups can save lives, and she says that her kids helped her put lotion on it while it was healing, and now they understand when I tell them to put on sunscreen. O'Donnell's close brush with death has changed the way she writes about health issues. "It's made me incredibly empathetic and emotional," she said. Since her diagnosis, O'Donnell has used her platform to talk about the dangers of tanning and sun exposure. She keeps sunscreen in a drawer by her front door, and her kids know not to come home with a pink face or neck. When she learnt more about melanoma, she was especially struck by how dangerous indoor tanning beds are. She turned 20%. She talked about how she and her friends wanted to be tanned as teens growing up in San Antonio, Texas. "As vain as teenagers can be, it's important to put your health first," O'Donnell said. When O'Donnell first told the public about her experience with melanoma in 2017, people reached out to her to say she had inspired them to get screened. "That was the payoff in sharing my story," she said, while the COVID-19 pandemic was going on. O'Donnell has seen the news media become a public health service, spreading new information about how viruses spread and how vaccines are being made. She wants to keep this service going by making the news a place to get information about other illnesses like melanoma. Over the past year, people have become more aware of things like coughs and runny noses. O'Donnell said, "I hope in some ways there is a greater awareness about the rest of our health too. Last week was the first week we didn't have I had a few doctor's appointments myself." O'Donnell said in February that it's hard to work, take care of your family, and make appointments all at the same time. She also said that her long-term goal as a reporter and a mother is to change the way many people think about their health. She said that we should go to the doctor when we're healthy so we don't get sick. So, getting skin cancer checks, mammograms, and pap smears should be done more often. Therapists and mental health professionals should also be seen more often. Since many people are getting the COVID-19 vaccine, O'Donnell hopes that many will return to dermatologists' offices and other doctors' offices for preventive medicine visits. This is because finding conditions early can save lives, and you can't say that enough now that she has been through so much. What is Norah O'Donnell doing now? For 12 years of her career, O'Donnell worked for NBC as a commentator for The Today Show, a chief Washington correspondent for MSNBC, and a White House correspondent for NBC News. She was also a contributing anchor for NBC News and an anchor on Weekend Today. O'Donnell reported for NBC News shows like NBC Nightly News, The Today Show, Dine NBC, and NBC. She filled in for Chris Matthews as host of Hardball with Chris Matthews and was a regular pundit for. Since she joined CBS, she has been the host of some of the network's most popular shows. She has filled in for Scott Pelley on the CBS Evening News several times, with the first time being October 10, 2011. She was also the White House correspondent from 2011 to 2012, and a co-anchor on CBS This Morning in the fall of 2012. Journalism and a passionate advocate for health, she remains an influential voice in her field. What do you think of Norah O'Donnell's encounter with such a deadly diagnosis? If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below to let us know your thoughts.